This live event is currently in music hold and will start momentarily. If you would like to ask a question, press *3 at any time during the event. Please note this call may be monitored, recorded, or rebroadcast. Welcome to the Access Live event. If you would like to ask, the Access Live event operator has been notified that you wish to ask a question. Welcome to the Access Live event. If you would like to ask a question, press *3 at any time during the event. Thanks for joining us. We will begin shortly.
Good evening and welcome to Senator Johnny Isakson's live telephone town hall meeting. I'm Amanda Maddox with Senator Isakson's staff, and I'll be your moderator for tonight's call. In just a second, Senator Isakson will give us his opening remarks, but first, I want to explain the format for tonight's call. A telephone town hall meeting is like a live radio call-in show, where you'll have the opportunity to ask Senator Isakson your questions directly and get answers from him over the phone. Right now, you're in listen-only mode, meaning I can hear you, or meaning you can hear me, but I can't hear you. This is a live question and answer session with Senator Isakson, and in a few minutes you'll have the opportunity to speak with him directly. If you would like to ask a question, it's very easy. Just press *3 on your telephone keypad at any time during the call. One of our staff members is waiting to assist you. Again, that's *3 from your telephone keypad to ask a question. The Senate is busy at work this week with the Judiciary Committee's hearings beginning today to consider the qualifications of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, who's been nominated to serve on the United States Supreme Court. We're also working to pass legislation to fund the federal government, address the opioid abuse epidemic, and reauthorize critical programs at the Department of Veterans Affairs. We want to talk to you about all this and many other issues important to you in just a few minutes. If you have a question, all you have to do is dial *3 from your telephone keypad. If you're just joining us tonight, you're listening to a live telephone town hall meeting with Senator Johnny Isakson. He welcomes your questions on any and all topics this evening. We hope you enjoyed this call tonight and that this forum accommodates your busy schedule. Remember, if you would like to ask a question, please be connected to one of our staff members who will take your name and your question. We try to stick to one question per caller so that Senator Isakson can get to as many of your questions as possible during this hour-long call. If we don't get to your question, you'll have the opportunity to leave us a message and our staff will contact you. We're now ready to begin our telephone town hall meeting with Senator Johnny Isakson. Remember, you can dial *3 from your telephone keypad at any time during this call to ask a question. I now turn it over to Senator Isakson to kick off our discussion.
Amanda, thank you very much, and I want to urge all of you who are listening to get your questions ready because I'm not going to talk for a long time. This is a meeting about what you want to find out, not about what I want to tell you. So it's your meeting. The agenda will be controlled by what you ask me. I'll do the best I can to answer.
Welcome to Senator Johnny Isakson's town hall meeting. Can I have your name and where you're calling from, please?
Robert and Marietta.
And what question would you like to ask the Senator tonight?
I've actually emailed and faxed this in as well, but I understand there's 100,000 pages of Kavanaugh's records that the Justice Department may have withheld. And I want to see if Johnny has seen those records and what his thoughts are to consider his vote for Kavanaugh's confirmation.
Yes, sir, that's a great question, and I'll be returning you to the telephone town hall meeting. And if we're able to get to your call, you'll hear your name called, and you'll be able to repeat your question to Senator Isakson.
Thank you.
Receive a very favorable vote from the United States Senate, but nothing's over until it's over. I urge you to watch TV, watch C-SPAN, watch your favorite network, follow the proceedings closely. If you see a question you want to ask, or if you see something you think needs to be addressed, you don't feel like you can get through, call our office. Let's try and make it through for you. This is the biggest, actually confirmation of lifetime appointments. most judges who not be confirmed and their term is a lifetime term once they get confirmed. Serious business. The quality of the future of our country lies as much as the longevity and quality of the appointments that are made as it does who down the line is going to be made later. So I'm glad to have that responsibility. I'll be glad to talk to you about questions you might have, Judge Kavanaugh, and I appreciate your listening in tonight. Real quickly, we're going to pass 3 appropriations bills in the next 2 weeks, which will take us to 12 out of 12. This will be the first time in 12 years we've done all the appropriation bills individually, as they should be done, rather than on omnibus bills or packages. That's a big step forward in discipline. I hope we can continue to do it because it's important to do it that way. We have to pass legislation to address the opioid crisis. I have done a lot of work on this legislation. I have done a lot of work on opioid abuse. It is a huge problem in the United States of America. If it touches your family, you know how hard it is. I tell everybody, most of the issues I get involved in because I have an understanding of the issue, hurt that it places on people, and the wrongs that are being done to people, and try and make them right. Nobody knows the hurt of the drug cases in this country, and especially in Georgia, than I do. I lost my grandson to a drug overdose the night before his graduation, Georgia Southern University, where he was going to graduate with mathematics. That was a deep tragedy for me, and for him, Charlie, it was a deep tragedy. And for my son and his wife, their child, it was a horrible event. But it's one of those events that woke me up. I spend a lot of time every day trying to help those who are fighting against opioids, trying to help raise money for those organizations, trying to help make awareness better. The more aware people are, the better off they are. A lot of people don't think that opioids are a problem with drugs. They don't think they're a problem with anything. They're a big problem. You get addicted on one hit of an opioid. I was in the hospital with my back surgery a year ago. I had lots of counseling on not even taking any opioid for a painkiller after having 2 back operations because how tough it can be. So I urge you to get engaged in your local community, work for the organizations that are fighting opioid abuse and trying to do more to educate the public about it and see that we do it. Lastly, I'm going to reauthorize the programs of the Veterans Administration. That's my committee that I chair. I enjoy working on it for our vets, and I appreciate the great job they do for our country. So with that said, I'm going to leave the questions up to you. I'm going to turn it over to you, and when I shut up, which will be in 1 second, I want you to press star 3 and go with your first question. So, operator, I'm ready to go.
Thank you very much, Senator Isakson. You're listening to a live telephone town hall meeting with Senator Johnny Isakson, and we're just about ready to take our first question. As the Senator said, if you've got a question, dial star 3 from your telephone keypad at any time, and we look forward to taking our first question. Samantha from Smyrna.
Hello, Senator Isakson. Good evening. How are you?
Fine, Samantha. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I know that recently we confirmed a new secretary for the VA, and, I was happy to see how that vote went. However, I still have some concerns over the push for privatization and want to know what your future plans are to help move away from that if possible. I know you've stated in previous town halls you're not a huge fan of at least the full privatization of the VA.
We have made a commitment to our soldiers who volunteer and fight for us that we're going to have health care available to them and a pension and benefits based on their longevity of their service. I'm going to see to it we do that. If you privatize it, you can't make that guarantee. So I'm not for privatizing the VA whatsoever. I am taking advantage of private sector doctors and communities, use them as the force multiplier to those that can serve our veterans, to expand access to health care at Cobb General Hospital, for example, or the hospital in Smyrna or wherever it may be. Not to expand responsibility to a third-party organization, but it ought to always stay with the VA and the doctors that are chosen by the veterans and agreed to by the Veterans Administration to treat the veterans. You're always going to have publicly funded quality delivery of health care services through the VA hospitals, whether the doctor is a private doctor outside the VA or is one inside the VA.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that question. If you've got a question for Senator Isakson, dial star 3 at any time. Our next call comes from Cheryl from Augusta.
Hello, thank you for this town hall. I think my question was already answered by your opening statement. I wondered what you thought would happen with the confirmation hearings for Judge Kavanaugh.
Well, I think they're going to be boisterous and loud, judging from what happened today, but I really think because of his qualification. In fact, that nobody who would come out on the other side politically and vote against him said they will, that he's going to get confirmed by the United States Senate. And if I had to guess, I think the vote's going to be 55-45. That's my guess.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that question. If you've got a question for Senator Isakson, you can dial *3 at any time. This is a live telephone town hall where he's answering your questions. And our next call comes from Mitchell from Marietta.
Hello.
Hey, Mitchell.
Hey, Senator Isakson. First, I want to thank you for all the years of service for the people of Georgia. It's not an easy task, I can imagine. In any case, I was wondering, my question and concern is there a need to mitigate or to kind of forestall or prevent President Trump's tariff policies? As I pointed out to the fellow who asked me about my question, just today my son wanted to buy a trailer for his boat. So he last month went and looked at the prices and got a price. And this month, today he went to buy it, and it was $500 more. And he asked the salesperson why, and they said, well, the metal tariffs have bumped the price up by $500. So I'm thinking perhaps that these tariffs, while they may put more people to work in the United States, they may adversely affect our economy. I'd like to know what your feelings are on my comments.
Specifically, the tax on boats has gone up because of the tariffs, and I'm sure the $500 increase that your son saw was the tax on the compounds of aluminum or metals that are used in that type of a boat. Just like you're going to have a hearing tomorrow on cars, you're going to be some increase in car prices. So let me just be real clear on this. I have been totally opposed to raising tariffs in order to raise pressure on Japan or on Russia or somebody else to do something. It's never worked for us. Obama tried it. George W. Bush tried it. They go up, our prices go up, our jobs go down, and then we don't solve anything. So I'm sorry that the president chose that route. I respect him for the decision, but I'm sorry that he chose that route. And I think because of what's happening, you're going to see him drop away from as much tariff talk and put tariffs back in, take tariffs off where he's put them in place. Let's go back to the type of economy we have, where it was a more free and open economy.
Well, I thank you for being frank about that. I kind of suspect, I think he perhaps will have to back away like he did for a bunch of other things that he tries to do. So I appreciate your answer. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very much.
Bye.
If you're just joining us, this is a live telephone town hall with Senator Isakson. He's taking your questions. If you have a question for the senator, dial *3 from your telephone keypad at any time. The next question comes from Rebecca from Atlanta.
Rebecca?
Hi, Senator. How are you?
Good.
Good. As the Supreme Court confirmation hearings continue, I have concerns about Judge Kavanaugh's reticence to indict a sitting president. Could you speak to your thoughts about that?
Well, I think the power to impeach is vested in the United States Senate. Power to present an impeachment charge against the president is left with the House of Representatives, but the trial itself is left with the Senate. An impeachment is a violation or a crime of a high and aggravated misdemeanor. It has a high threshold and has been used in many times by political parties one way or another, heighten the partisan debate over an issue rather than actually have an actual trial for a crime that took place. With that said, it has always been the low-hanging fruit for the outsider to go after a president and make his life miserable for him. And so whether he's Donald Trump, George W. Bush, George W. Bush, or Bill Clinton, or anyone else like that, there are people who go after low-hanging fruit. But I think it's a very high threshold to do it. I think you run the risk of trivializing issues. I think the best thing to do if you're in elected office and has the capability of taking somebody to court for a misdemeanor, you ought to back up and go debate them man to man over the issue and try and solve the problem rather than just have a political show.
Alrighty, thank you.
I don't think that was a very good answer. You sound like I didn't do very good.
Well, it was a very political answer, and that's your job.
Well, it is. You're right, it is a political answer, but I'll be honest with you. Impeachment is a political issue in the best and worst of terms, whichever way you want to look at it. You can't erase the politics from it, and if you try to do so, then you're not being an honest person. So I appreciate your call. I'd rather talk about passing laws that do good things for folks than having impeachment fights and make fun of you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all your work. I do appreciate it.
Glad to do it.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for that great question, Rebecca. If you're just joining the call, this is a live telephone town hall with Senator Johnny Isakson. If you've got a question for Senator Isakson, please dial *3 from your telephone keypad at any time. And our next question comes from Michelle from Hazelhurst.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I wanted to ask you about the opioid epidemic. I know there is a very serious epidemic. But my thing is, all these things, the biggest majority of them come from doctors. And people that get prescriptions from doctors, there's a lot of young people. They get them from the same doctors, and they go to the same pharmacies to get these pills filled. Why is nothing done about that? Yeah, I know they come down on these big pill mills, whatever you want to call them. But there's little towns, too, all these little suburbs. I live in southeast Georgia, in Hazelhurst. And you see the same people in the newspaper that get caught for their few pills or whatever. But, there's the same doctors and the same pharmacies that they're filled at.
You're a very wise lady. You brought up a very serious part of this issue. And if you don't mind, I want to expand on it a little bit because you're exactly right. The source of opioids is not just a drug addict or a drug manufacturer, but it's also the prescriber of pharmaceuticals, which are doctors, or the delivery of pharmaceuticals, which are pharmacists. It's totally out of hand. The Veterans Administration, and I'm the chair of the committee that oversees the Veterans Administration, has been one of the worst in terms of violating the intent of quality prescriptions in terms of opioids being prescribed for pain. We had a facility in Wisconsin called Toma, which is a VA facility, which we basically shut down. They were handing out pills just like they were candy, pain. And they were supposed to be only designed for pain in the worst of combat injuries or transplants or things of that nature. So, first of all, there was a look the other way attitude on the part of many people. I'll tell you that it's still true that the number one source of drugs that result in someone dying from an overdose don't come out of the drugstore, they don't come out of the VA, they don't come out anywhere, they come out of the medicine chest at home. There are lots of kids who go in their folks' medicine chest after it's filled up. They've taken some of those pills. So it's everybody's responsibility to reduce the supply of the pills that are available, which means you've got to have your pharmaceuticals locked up in your house in a way that they're easy for you to get, easy for your wife or husband to get, but they're not so easy to get that it's easy to get too.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere. It's anything. Anything. It got to where you have to put, you had to put everything behind the counter in the grocery stores. But, a lot of things, I live in a small place, and it's the same drugstores, the same doctors, that give them out. But the people that truly need stuff, truly have serious medical problems. And that's who it hurts. But you have young kids, and I see it all the time because the same people are on the same newspaper, constantly for the same pills that they have been selling. But they're getting them from the same doctors that they have always gone to.
And we've got to keep the pressure on those doctors, those pharmacists, those other organizations to slow it down and stop it, and that's what we're going to try and do.
But instead of getting these kids that have gotten caught already for the pills that they have and getting them to go out and get other little kids, somebody needs to crack down on the doctors that they have gotten those pills from, and that would put a big stop to it.
Everybody should be held responsible. You're exactly right.
Yeah, so Everybody should be held accountable.
That's right.
Everybody should be held accountable, and that's my thought on that.
A good one.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Have a good night.
You too.
If you're just joining us tonight, this is a live telephone town hall with Senator Isakson. If you've got a question, dial *3 from your telephone keypad. And our next question comes from Julie from Dacula.
Hi, Senator Isakson.
Hi, Julie. How are you?
I'm good. My question is, why can't we go back to 60 votes in the Senate and bipartisanship? I'm a Democrat. My husband is a Republican, and we managed to stay married and love each other and discuss our differences and still stay married. And I think that if I could do it, you guys could do it. And I voted for you. I voted for you because I believe in a lot of the same policies you believe in. I don't agree with you on everything, but you used to just vote for the best candidate. And in the last election, I voted for Democrat for everything just because I'm so sick of what the game McConnell plays. The reason you have two Supreme Court justices is because of McConnell's game playing. I don't like that. I want you guys to go there. I want you to hear from us because we're really scared about Kavanaugh. We're scared because of his belief in the presidential powers, and Donald Trump is very insane, in my opinion. And there's no accountability, and there's supposed to be 3 separate branches of government, and right now there isn't. And if you put Kavanaugh in the judiciary, we're afraid that there won't be anybody holding him accountable. And if you want us to not be afraid, you need to ask serious questions, not talk about football. And that's what's ridiculous. I mean, Amy Klobuchar, she talked about serious stuff. She did her research. And Chuck Grassley sounded like he just didn't even bother to read anything. He was just going to go ahead and confirm this guy. And I don't like that he was appointed by outside groups. So what I'm asking you guys to do for us, for the people, because Georgia's like 33% Republican, 31% Democrat, and the rest are independent. You know, we're not this super bright red state. We just don't get heard. I mean, I feel like we're not heard, and I don't feel like you think it's your job to make us comfortable. If Brett Kavanaugh is the greatest guy to be on the Supreme Court, then make us believe that. Don't ask him about talk about him liking football. I mean, that's ridiculous, and we deserve better than that.
I don't think I talked about football, but
Not you.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate you. You know, your call is well intended, and I appreciate it very much. Let me just give you a little response. I have never, when it gets to November, ever that I know of, voted a straight ticket. As a candidate for office, I've always known what the final candidates are. Not everybody's always going to be the best person under every circumstance. You ought to have an open mind when you go and vote for everybody, including me. I've said that for years, always said it, we'll continue to say it, because everybody thinks only one party's right. It's wrong, and it's not the way to
Well,
look.
I don't think that, and I do know that about you. I'm very disappointed in the Senate and the Congress as a whole right now.
Well, I am too, and I'm talking about some of my colleagues and what I'm about to say, but let me finish what I'm saying for a second. We need to hold ourselves accountable. The very best hearings and investigations and processes through which these appointments are fulfilled and ratified and confirmed to give you as much confidence as we can. I don't know that the president has really done that with the cabinet appointments that he has made, but I think in the case of the committees, the committee chairs have done a pretty doggone good situation of seeing to it that the nominee that came to them was not confirmed if he wasn't the right person. And I'll give you the White House position. Admiral Jackson is exactly a good example of that. He was appointed by President Trump to be the secretary of the VA, but he was struck down by us on the committee because he wasn't as qualified as we thought he ought to be. So you're getting a pretty good test of that, although getting to draw the ranks and speeches and things like that you have to do, sometimes you don't feel like you are. But you're correct. You deserve the best people we can find. That you deserve for us to put them through a fine-tooth comb so we make sure they're as qualified as we can get them. And we need to do everything we can to listen to you about the concerns you have, about the responsibilities that cabinet officers will have in their various responsibilities to get to the very best people possible. So it's a team sport. Partisanship does exist, and partisanship serves a good purpose. There are times partisanship is maybe a better person than running in an environment that didn't have it. Not that I enjoy it. It makes you sharper, makes you pay attention to what the public's paying attention to, gives everybody a chance to vent. I'll always support the two-party system. I'll always support the process. And I'll always work to make sure that in the end, I vote for the very best person for the job, because in the end, I'm responsible to you.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're just joining us tonight, this is the telephone town hall with Senator Isakson. If you've got a question for Senator Isakson, you can dial *3 at any time. Our next question comes from Diane from Marietta.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello, Senator Isakson. I'm actually not asking a question. I want to just comment. I'm a Democrat from Marietta, and I was so proud to see your passionate and compassionate comments regarding the passing of Senator McCain. You made me proud. I called your office and left a message to that effect. But thank you for recognizing what a hero he was to all Americans, no matter what side of the aisle they're on. Again, just a comment, and I thank you for standing up and saying with such feeling about Senator McCain's passing. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Thank you for that comment. If you've got a question, dial *3 at any time. And our next question comes from Steve from Woodstock.
Hi, Senator Isakson. How are you this evening?
Good, Steve. How about you?
Doing well. My question is about Obamacare and how you see an opportunity in the coming months to make a positive impact on and insert a competitive marketplace spirit into some of the issues around the health crisis we face in America. And I'm thinking about around the value agenda. What can we do to cut costs and to make it more consumer-focused in general? So do you see opportunities in the coming days, weeks, months to make an impact in that area?
There are very definitely opportunities to do so, but they've been there before. There are opportunities to take advantage of. If you start talking about reducing costs, you're reducing somebody's revenue or somebody's opportunity for revenue, and you have to realize that. So I'll give you an example. Tort laws, under which rewards are made to people who file suit against being wrong. Tort laws allow pretty much for medical malpractice. Don't prohibit as runaway verdicts. So you get large verdicts on medical torts. That raises the cost of the insurance without doing anything for the quality of the coverage. That's just one example. Is the lack of flexibility the insurance companies have in broadening the way in which they insure the services that they pay for. Also causes you to get the most cost with the least result. But with that said, government has at its worst sometimes mandates things that add costs without you really needing to do it. I have been in government for 41 years. Healthcare is the hardest issue in the world because every time you mandate a benefit, you have to pay the consequences of that mandate. You have to figure that and calculate that in the rate calculation, the premium calculation, and you've got to, in the end, make money or break even. It becomes very hard to do. The biggest fault I found with Obamacare is that it was overly specific what you had to pay for, but in regard to your personal situation. You were forced to pay if you were a single adult male. You were forced to pay for healthcare, female healthcare services, or children's healthcare service when you didn't need them in the first place. You should have had the choice of getting that and paying for yourself. If you allow people to shop based on the benefits they want, they will buy the benefit that they probably need the most and probably will call on the most, but they won't buy and pay for everything else in the world, which helps you increase that. So it's not easy. It's very difficult. And I'm 74 years old. My insurance, my share for my wife and I, our medical insurance is $18,000 out of my pocket. That doesn't include the employer match. So it's a lot of money. I know how much people are paying for it, and I know how important it is to have it.
Right.
What we've got to do is put more choice in the program, less mandates in terms of what coverage has to be, and more education of the consumers that are assuming the benefits into what they're paying for and when they're paying for it.
You see an opportunity to insert more competition, health savings accounts, more consumer connection to the cost. It feels like consumers are very disconnected from the actual cost of, and if you connect consumers more directly to the cost of and insert competition marketplace principles, you will address costs in a serious way. Does that sound right to you?
It does, and I think you could do it. It's never really been done. To tell you the truth, and it makes me mad when you say this, but you get an insurance. Next time you get a bill from your doctor, you turn it in to your insurance provider. You get a statement out as to what it did with it. It'll say you gave us a bill for $150. We approved paying $72 of it.
Right.
We didn't approve $18 of it. You'd have to jump through 3 hoops and over 4 bridges to get the rest of the money out of us. And if you make the same claim again, we're going to double your price the next time. So I mean, it's a puzzle. It's not as simple as it needs to be, and they're too complicated. The benefits are too complicated. People don't really understand what they're getting, the value they're getting for the dollar they're paying for. So, and I'm talking to you a little bit out of school because this is something I'm working on for legislation next year. I think one of the things I owe people when I go out of office is to leave Georgia a better place, to leave families in a better place. And the one place that families have the toughest time right now, the place Georgians have the toughest time, is getting quality health insurance at an affordable price. And I think if we do that based on race, that's what I want to do.
That's it. I agree. I hope we'll be all about health savings accounts and increasing that amount and putting it in direct connect to the consumer. But I appreciate the Senator for answering my question.
Thank you very much for your call.
Thank you.
Thank you for all of these great questions tonight. If you've got a question for Senator Isakson, you can dial *3 from your telephone keypad. The next question comes from Lindsay from Richmond Hill.
Good evening, Senator. First off, just as a working mom, I really appreciate this format. I can listen in and be civically engaged while feeding my toddler dinner. So
your toddler and I are both lucky to have you.
My question is, what is being done to address the lead contamination on military housing? I am part of a military family. We're not stationed at Fort Benning. We're down on the coast. And I want to know if the testing that has been done at Benning, if that has been done at other installations across the state.
Well, I appreciate your call very much for bringing this up. We are a huge state in Army training and Army residences, and we appreciate the Army very much. And at Fort Stewart, Fort Benning, Fort Gordon, all of Hunter Army Airfield, all the Army bases around our state, we want to make sure all our housing is safe for the family and the dependents and the soldiers and their wives who live there. The lead poisoning issue in Army homes is a disappointing thing, but it's not as bad. Now, let me tell you what we've already done. We're seeing, too, first of all, that every home is inspected that is a Army-controlled, Army Defense-controlled base housing for soldiers. So every house is going to be checked for lead and for lead poisoning. That any soldier has a chance to rent from the United States Army of the United States of America. We're going to require that. Number one. We've introduced an amendment to require a report to come back to Congress as to where they find shortfalls in the inspections they're doing now in other bases around the country to see if there's existence of lead poison to the levels that there was at Fort Benning. We're looking for an immediate response from the Army that it will conduct these tests in all homes for the 1970s. We'll continue to closely monitor the problem. The good news is the problem, what we recognize, I was in this business for a long time. I was in the housing business. We recognized in the 70s that lead poisoning was a problem. And all the components of housing that contained lead by 1975 were almost non-existent in houses. But you're talking about an old problem, not one that's continued to grow. But the lead that was there, like where you see other houses taking out insulation and things like that, has not been removed. So we're now going to make sure that we inspect for it on the change of transfer of every piece of property. When it's changed, we find there's a poison level of lead that's unhealthy. We're going to require that it be cleaned up, or we're going to clean it up ourselves. We're going to make sure that the people that live in the houses know what to look for in case something starts to appear that didn't exist before in terms of an illness or something like that. We're going to make sure that the power of knowledge is in the hands of every Army soldier and every wife living in base housing anywhere in the country. And we'll be able to do that. I think we'll see to it that a lot of people that might have otherwise later been hurt don't get hurt. But I don't think that the problem is as great as some of the initial fear that came out of the actual report that came out a few days ago. But we're going to make sure we reduce the risk to minimum.
Will there be any sort of checks and balances with that? Will the families in these houses have any kind of, advocacy routes that are included in this legislation?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
So if the housing contractors aren't fulfilling the requirements, I mean, we're already, this problem, like you said, was started back in the 70s, and it's been this long, and it's just kind of resurged, or at least, I guess, the notoriety of it has. Is there anything going forward that is going to help hold those contractors accountable?
Well, let me just say this. Like I said, I was in the business for a long, long time.
Yeah.
If someone writes a contract to buy a house or rent a house, and they call for an inspection for lead, the lead is found to be at a dangerous level. The property is not going to transfer, and the sale is not going to take place unless the owner of the property at that time mitigates the problem. And the owner of that property at that time may not be the person who built it 40 years ago. Well, the person who built it may not actually be the person that ends up paying for the benefit, but whoever owns it that's selling to you, if you're the person that discovers it, you're going to be protected. And that's true in almost all requirements on housing, whether it's lead or some of the other things that come through the ground or come through associated with minerals and things of that nature. So it'll get fixed. It may not be fixed by the person who did it originally. They may be dead and gone 50 years ago. But the VA and the military are going to see to it their housing is lead free.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that call. If you've got a call for Senator Isakson, you can dial *3 from your telephone keypad at any time. And our next question comes from Gay from Jackson.
Good evening, Senator.
Gay, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm a retired educator, and I had some concerns when I retired, and they don't seem to have been properly addressed. I did not teach the gifted students. More of my children were the street kids, the children who were not necessarily college bound, who needed more vocational training before graduation. And I don't see that that's changed a lot, even though a lot of teachers have protested and asked for programs to be put into place prior to graduation from high school. Do you have views or plans or know of any procedures that are in progress to address this situation?
Requiring courses that are taught in the schools to incorporate them?
Yes.
So, such as? What can you name for me that's not in the schools now that would be good to have added?
Well, I've traveled extensively with students and on my own, and in other countries, around the 7th or 8th grade, they take students who are not academically minded, who don't have plans to go to college, and they start them early on, in actually part of the day in school and the other part of the day on job sites in which they're interested or show an interest, to see if they show an aptitude for that skill. And
let me give you an answer that you're going to like, because it's something I work on a lot. When I was chair, I chaired the State Board of Education, and I never believed in. There were people that thought we ought to have kids on one track or another, and they could never cross over. They either were technical education or college level education, and that was it.
Yeah.
We did find out that if we didn't get the kids focused 8th grade or later, at least in the area of their interest and their abilities, we might lose some kids who we never satisfied the wants and needs that they had. So what we spent a lot of time on we rewrote our curriculum in 1998. We used 2,000 teachers and parents around the state. That was the hardest project I ever worked on in my life. I can tell you that. We really said, what should a child by 8th grade know in math? What should they have accomplished? What should they have learned in history and social studies? What wars and what years of conflict, things like that, should they at least be competent in? And on and on. How many languages should they take? All of that type of stuff. The better you work on your curriculum, because teachers, your curriculum is what the teachers teach. I hear people say, well, no, all she does is teach the curriculum. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. So that's what the kids study, that's what the teacher teaches, and that's what the Board of Education tests for. So now what's happening in Georgia, which is a great story, and the story is what we call career academies, what we call charter schools. Some of the other things that have happened in the last 12 years. I got the first charter school approved in Georgia in 1996, which was Addison Elementary in Cobb County. This charter was renewed for the 5th time 2 years ago, which is an outstanding elementary school and has written their game plan every year and comes back for a renewal of their charter and does good. In Noonan, and in particular where you've got the South Wire Cable Company, they developed a program called Life to 13 to Life, which focuses on every kid getting 13 years of education, which gets them out of high school from grades kindergarten to 12th grade. They take kids off the streets who are homeless, who don't have parents. They take kids who work for workers in their factory that they're not related to. They offer them an education for half the day, and then they work at the company that afternoon, and they go home at night to study hall and things of that nature, and athletic intramural games, trying to make a more well-rounded person. They are graduating now at a rapid rate. If I'm not mistaken, 76% kids in that program are getting a high school diploma or equivalent, and are going into full-time employment with health care benefits and things of that nature. You can go on and on and on. The Coca-Cola Company, people I do business with all around, have got all kinds of pilot programs and operating programs designed to attract people to come learn in a mechanism of applying what they know and what they're learning, the skills that they're going to need to be able to do the job in the real world or when they get out of school themselves. So there's a lot of focus on technical education. There's a lot of focus on the STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, and math. Those are the 21st century pathways to success. I tell my kids and I tell my grandkids when I go speak at schools, I say, listen, y'all remember Apollo 13? Apollo 13, the mission to the moon, when the ship blew up and made it back home, but they never landed on the moon. Y'all remember that? And they always know they say yes. So the Oldsmobile built in the year of the launch of Apollo 13 couldn't do hardly anything, but today a new car put on the road, they could do 10 times what they could do in Apollo 13. Our technical knowledge is so much greater now, and the demands for it on our kids. They're learning more, they learn how to do more, and they're getting much more technical knowledge, much broader base in their employment and their studies. So let me just say that I think the focus on just going to college is gone. College is a good thing to do. Don't get me wrong, it's a great thing to do. I applaud anybody. When I went to college, I went to graduate school in London. I learned a lot of things, but I learned more. The things I learned that I was taught to know in school that I applied in a business. And so we need to broaden our educational experience to include the activities that are required to produce the product or to sell the product or discover the product. Give people more of an open challenge for the future, let them do what they want to do, and I think we'll have a much better education when we do. I'm sorry that was a long answer, but I'm sorry.
Listen, as an educator, I understand there is no simple answer when it comes to these things, but I am happy to know, and I do know of some of your past work. I do know that. I would just like to see, I tend to see these charter schools and things in and around the more affluent counties,
Right.
and that concerns me.
Well, it concerns me too because money is the thing everybody wants to do better. It's the thing that most everybody needs to do better. But the lack of money at one school because of availability should not cause another school to go down or go up. I mean, we got to make sure that we have assets that are available for those schools, regardless of the socioeconomic environment of the community. Don't drag them down. But can I tell you something?
Yes.
What did you teach? What do you teach?
I taught middle school in Butts County, Georgia, in Jackson, Georgia.
I want to tell you something. You introduce yourself by saying you're a teacher, and then you made a couple of comments. I love teachers. Alex Gibson is the reason that I am where I am today in my life. She was my literature teacher in the 11th grade. She challenged me. She made me do something I didn't want to do, which was read and comprehend, and she made me appreciate what I came learning. And I say this all the time, it's really true. If it hadn't been for Alice Gibson, I'd have never had the opportunity to realize the dream of being elected to the United States Senate or be the chairman of the school board of a state or something of that nature. Education is the key to the future for everyone. Our children are a message we send to a time we'll never see as adults. And we need to send the best message we can by empowering people like you, teaching the schools and are committed to making our children better. It's what empowers me to go back to work every day, to work a little bit harder to see a better job for you, a better opportunity for kids. So thank you for what you've done as a teacher and as a citizen, and thank you for taking the time to call us tonight.
Thank you for your service to our nation, Senator. I appreciate you as well.
My pleasure, ma'am. Thank you very much. Amanda, how are we doing?
We're doing well. We're actually down to our last question. I wanted to let everyone know that if we didn't get a chance to ask your question, and if you've already spoken to a member of our staff, we'll be able to email you an answer to your question. If you didn't want to ask a question on the call live, you'll have the opportunity at the end to leave a voicemail for Senator Isakson, and we'll get back to you that way. But now we're on to our last question, which we're excited comes from a listener online, and it's Gary, who asked, can we do something about VA appointments that are far, far away? He explains that he had to drive to Tennessee for one appointment, take a day off work, and pay the whole way. Senator, is there something we can do about that?
There is, and let me, I hope, is it Gary, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Gary, the Mission Act, which we passed 3 months ago, now being implemented in terms of health care, is going to allow you to go to the doctor at the local CBOC, which is community-based clinic for the VA, or the local hospital or your local doctor. If you have a medical problem, you can go to whichever one you want to go to. You don't have to be just the VA doctor. You're going to have a lot more available health care. You're going to have no limit on how long you have to wait. In fact, we're going to shorten the lengths of wait all the way around. Doctors are going to have to be quality doctors, and they're going to have to meet a standard that's important, but we want to make sure you get the best health care as fast as you can without any governmental coverage. Yes, by the time January 1st of next year comes, when the full Mission Act is implemented in place, you should have as easy access as I do, or anybody else does, health appointments. So health appointments aren't easy for anybody, including me, I can tell you that. But you're going to have easier access than you've had, better quality of care than you've had, and it's going to be a good program. And that doesn't prove to be true. You pick up the phone and call the next town hall I'm on and give me help for it, okay?
Thank you for submitting that online question, and to all of you who listened in on today's call. Senator Isakson, will you wrap up for us?
I want to thank you, Amanda, for all the effort that you made, you and Trey and all the folks on the staff. We've got a lot of crew, about 13 working here at the office right now tonight to make this happen. This telephone town hall is important to me. This is one of 4 we do every year, as well as we do individual appearances, as well in some cases at town halls. I'd love to get out and learn from the people that I represent, because that's where I really get the knowledge I need to get. If you'd like more information about the way topics we're asking about tonight or any answers we discussed, please not hesitate to contact my Atlanta office at 770-661-90999 or my Washington office, which is 404-224-3643. You'll also visit my website at www.isakson.senate.gov and sign up for my e-newsletter every couple of weeks to bring you up on the activities of the Senate. I hope you have a wonderful evening. You have a wonderful day. When your prayer tonight, thank God for letting us live in the greatest country on the face of this earth, the United States of America. God bless you.
Thanks, everyone, and have a good night.
The Access Live event has ended.